Hello,
Hello.
everyone.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Oh,
go ahead. Go ahead. Usually I say hello and just go ahead. You know what I'm going to ask you.
okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Acheface. I'm an industrial artist, industrial. I'm from the Netherlands, and I use this instrument behind me here to make my music, the modular synthesizer. This is actually the only instrument I ever use. So this is my unique thing, and it's also my handicap because it's a very difficult instrument to use. But that makes it very interesting for me to use it and to make my music this way. My musical background is pretty diverse. I actually was into listening to and also making extreme metal for quite a long time, and my I'm still listening to that music a lot. And then nowadays I am more into electronic music as far as making it goes. Um, so it's kind of weird because this genre that I make is kind of like a very foreign territory to me still. It's kind of unknown territory, but I like exploring new things, and that's why I ended up doing this music. And there you go. I think you can still hear a lot of metal influence in there if you listen closely.
Yeah, I mean, I, the good thing for me is I choose the people I want to talk to, and I only, talk with people where I like the music. So you're already talking to a fanboy over here. Um, but right away, a few questions pop up here. So why do you take the hard road? First of all, why kind of limiting yourself? I mean, I kind of anticipate the answer already because it has some certain benefits, but I want to hear it from you, of course. Um, and why did you choose this kind of music if you come from extreme metal? I mean, it would make more sense to take a guitar and do a metal project or industrial metal. I also I'm a big industrial metal fan, so yeah, maybe answer these two questions first. So why do you limit yourself to this instrument? But also, okay, with the instrument we're going to talk about more later because the instrument is a it's not a normal instrument.
Yeah.
Um, and why do you? Okay, let's start with this question and then the next one. So yeah, how
Why
come?
do I limit myself
Yeah.
to this instrument only? Um, I think the answer lies in the limitation itself, because the limitation is something that forces your creativity to come out.
Hmm.
In a way, it's kind of a paradox, because in a way the instrument is not a limitation at all, because you can do so many things. There are like literally millions of combinations with which I could patch up this instrument, like connecting the wires and so on and configuring it. So in a way, it's unlimited possibility, but the fact that I'm using only that instrument is at least a limiting factor.
Hmm.
And there are some things that the instrument is not so good at, and you have to kind of work around those things as an artist, and that I find also very interesting.
Yeah, this is really what I kind of anticipated because I'm completely with you. Sometimes it's more is no less is more. I would have said it a different way.
Exactly.
Um, but that you get more creative if you don't have all the things. If you have only three colors to paint, then you kind of use them wisely, or kind of use them in different ways you wouldn't have anticipated if you can choose everything. So I'm completely on board here. I get what you're the limitation factor is actually something that frees you up or forces you to do things differently and then explore new sounds you find maybe or most likely accidentally because you don't have the things you have. But okay, let's stay with your instrument because I, I mean, you say it's only one instrument, but from I don't know much. I'm not so much into modular synths, but I have I have I have some synths here, so I'm a little bit familiar with it. I think there's more than one in there, or at
Yeah, in a
least
way, you are
a lot
right.
of yeah. So please explain yourself, because it's kind of. I'm not saying you're cheating, but it's not. You're saying the instrument, but it's kind of a multitude of instruments.
Yeah, in a way, you're absolutely right. It's more like an orchestra actually, or you can configure it to behave like an orchestra. So there are
Hmm.
many voices sounding at the same time, making a whole track with just one instrument. Maybe it's good for the listeners if I explain a little bit about what a modular synthesizer is,
Hmm.
because otherwise they might think like, "What the hell are they talking about all this time?" And it's kind of hard to explain very clearly, I guess. But a modular synthesizer is like a sound generating device consisting of different modules. You can see behind me there
Hmm.
are different sections in the closet with different colors and different knobs on it. So they're all like different sound or sound manipulation devices that are connected together using cables. And without those cables, you hear no sound. So you have to connect the signal from one end to the other in order to make a sound and hear a sound. And of course, you can, like I said, make an orchestra out of it, create several sounds and put them all into a mixer and create
Hmm.
a whole track. And yes, it's this um, kind of way of working that creates, like you said already a little bit earlier, like the possibility of happy accidents
Hmm.
occurring. Like it's so complicated to use this thing that even though I'm sort of master it, you never get to fully master it, and there are always going to be surprises lurking after
Yeah,
every corner, and
I completely guess.
that's
Yeah.
where the magic happens.
Hmm. Because yeah, here with this, I don't know your setup for. Yeah, I mean, we're not going too much into detail, but um, from my limited knowledge, even if a slight, I don't know, the one filter is a little bit open and the next one is a little bit closed, and already something along down the chain of events that happen, it has a big impact. So yeah, this is so maybe let's stay on topic. And so, how do you? Because with my limited knowledge, I know, of course, MIDI, and there is also this current thing, the one before MIDI, where we had a current things where we talked with each other. The how do you call this?
Control voltage.
Control voltage. Yeah, I was like CV something, but it's not a curriculum vitae.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
control voltage. Yeah, thank you. Um, so, um, how do you? And this might be a little bit. I need to phrase it. How do you really create the music live you're doing, or do you have like a MIDI pattern you let run, and then just tweak the knobs and stuff that things happen? And I heard in one of your recordings, in one video I watched, you also had a voice sample, and so this cannot come from this machine. Needs to come from somewhere outside, and we also tweaked the voice sample. Where you so. I don't. In a way, yes. I wanted to say I don't want to entmystify you, but on the other hand, yes, I
Mhm.
want to entmystify you a little bit. I want to know how you do it, because um, I understand modular, and I understand that there is no. No PC or no normal laptop you just put in there and hit play. Here's also a manual thing at work, and you have to really tweak. This is the real cool thing. I think it's very old fashioned and the cool stuff. But with a voice I heard and you modulated, how did you do that? Because you need to have a sampler in there, or what? How did this work?
Exactly. There's also modules that are samplers.
Ah,
So I'm
okay.
simply using a module within the machine that is a sampler
Okay.
in which you can load samples and then play them back in a
Hmm.
creative way. So that means that the sound is inside the machine and you can process it through effects. For example, you can make the sample stutter, or you
Hmm.
can put it through a filter or a distortion or all kinds
Hmm.
of combinations like that.
Okay. Okay. I
And
didn't
to
know
answer
that.
your question before that, I don't really use MIDI,
Mm-hmm.
although there's some MIDI signals happening inside the device from one module to another one.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the normal way that the modular works. It works with control voltages, like you
So
said.
really
So it's
old-fashioned.
all the cables
Mm-hmm.
have voltages going through them. And an audio
It's crazy.
signal, like a sample being played, is also a
Mm-hmm.
voltage.
Mm-hmm.
Only it's a very fast voltage that moves so quickly that we hear it as sound. The
Mm-hmm.
slower voltages are signals that can modulate things, that can alter
Mm-hmm. There
other
is
sounds.
different waveforms and stuff.
Exactly.
Sawtooth and I forgot all the. Yeah, but I mean, I don't have to tell you what kind of wave things there are. So yeah, this is so. I still, I get, we already got that you kind of limit yourself in this way, but I mean, this device you built, this instrument, you call it, that's a multitude of little segments of different things. This didn't came overnight. How did this happen? I mean, this is something what is very deliberate, and I see you have not any spare part in there. Everything is full. And I also saw Döpfer. Döpfer is a German company. As I think. I have
Yeah, they are.
the Döpfer dark time. I think.
Mhm.
And this is one of my later questions: how you start the chain. But anyway, let's stay on this topic. This to build, from my estimation, would have taken at least a few months, maybe longer, more like a year or so. How did this come to pass, and how did the fascination with the analog stuff happen? Because with today, in the age we are living in, with virtual things, you can do everything. And some would
Yeah.
argue much easier, and you don't have to, the cables. And I get your point absolutely, that it's more fun with the haptic stuff, and you really do things, and also for the people who see you perform, it's so much cooler if there's really someone who moves things and does things, and it's not a pre-recorded thing that just runs. And that's why I ask for the MIDI, that you just let a pattern run, and then just kind of can go home or go to the bar and have a drink or something. But anyway, my question is, how did this really happen? Because usually starts with one part, and then you take the next one. So I see a time frame here. Where how long did it take you to build this thing, and what was the real initial thing? The spark to really build such a thing.
Yeah, it all started for me about 8 years ago. So it's certainly not a matter of a year, but much longer than that for
Mm-hmm.
something like this to come together. This is actually not all of it you're seeing. There's
Okay.
another case that I can stack on top, but it has to go into repair
You're
now,
such
so
a
it's
show
not there.
off.
Sorry, didn't mean to be.
No, it's fine.
But yeah, I started really small with just a very small one row of modules
Mm-hmm.
that I just used initially to add to my software synthesizers,
Mm-hmm.
to add a little bit of an analog touch to my studio, basically, be
Mm-hmm.
able to create some sounds in that very tactile and analog sounding way. And then I built that system, expanded slightly just for me to get more possibilities with making sounds. But only after I saw some friends of mine perform live with only a modular synthesizer did I get really inspired to tailor my system really for that purpose. So that
Mm-hmm.
means getting more sequencers to run like patterns and being able
Okay.
to
Okay. Yeah.
make
This is
song-like
one of
structures.
my next questions. How you start that? Okay, I got it.
Yeah. So you do a lot of tweaking by hand, but there's
Mm-hmm.
not everything I have to do by hand. There's some patterns running
Mm-hmm.
that I then manipulate by hand further
Mm-hmm.
because I only have two hands.
Yeah. No. I get it. And I listen to your music, and I mean, this is why we're talking. And it's also quite well done, and this for me was it was clear that there is like a drum machine in there, or like a module you use for drums, and there will be a drum pattern you let run, and this is independent of the other things. And then you have a melody or a bass or something, that you put in. So this you I think you said it right at the beginning. This is kind of an orchestra. It can be an orchestra. You just have to tell it what it needs to do. So you use, how many sequencers do you use? A sequencer, maybe for the people out there who don't know, is just it just plays a pattern, and it's a nothing until it hits something that makes a sound, basically. And it's just an impulse, like your control voltage is just an impulse that does something, and if it hits on something receiving it, that makes a specific sound. So, how many of these are you using?
It's kind of hard to answer because in modular synthesizers, nothing is truly only for one purpose. So you could have a module that could act like a simple sequencer, but it could also do other things.
Okay.
So it's hard to say like, oh, that module is a sequencer, and that module is not a sequencer. But I use one main module that is a very smart and advanced sequencer that does most of the magic. And then there are some other modules that do a little bit of flavor here and there. For example, there's also a sequencer that acts on randomness. So it's like I turn a knob, and it's like throwing a dice, and it comes up with a repeatable pattern, a pattern that repeats, but the exact nature of that pattern is subject to chance. And then you get really unexpected results that can be nice or not so. So if it's not nice, I throw the dice again. And if it's nice, I keep it like that, and I jam with it for a little while longer.
Yeah, I think this is really what I think. But that's the most fun of this machine is. I mean, you can spend hours on it and not get bored, because there's so many possibilities here. Even and this sounds ridiculous, because even if you limit yourself, you have so much possibilities, and you can do things, and the sound. In Deutsch sagt man die Soundfarbe. How the sound is. The color,
timbre,
the coloration of a sound, the timbre. This is for me. This would be a lot of fun to play with your toy, because it's kind of like it's endless possibilities. And what does this knob do? And what does this knob do? And and I think this is also, what you obviously like, and also what kind of sets you apart. I saw your live things, because. I talk with a lot of people, and I like a lot of different music, but sometimes it's really just that they have a backing track, and they make click, and then, they sing or perform or whatever. And I like it, it's fine, whatever floats your boat and however you want to do it. Music is, free for everyone, and if you want to do it this way, it's this way. But I really admire your way, I have to say honestly, because it's the hardest way I can imagine. I had only one guy who was even more crazy than you, because he had he kind of the same crazy.
Okay. I'm curious now.
I can send you, once we're done talking, I sent you the link. He made a video where he goes through his house, and whenever he went to a new room, something else started, and he triggered it, and then a new sequence things gets in, and then, he had to time his movements absolutely because he filmed this video in one shot, and it's crazy.
That sounds cool.
It's really, he knows his stuff. He's in I want to say Toronto, but somewhere in Canada. I sent you the link. He's a really cool guy, and a very good musician, and crazy in a good way. Anyway, you remind me of that, because when you do when you do live performances, so do you have tracks you try to replicate? Because for me, this would be a really tough feat because it's always different, And if you move this big rack, there will be one knob out of the configuration and stuff, and it will never be exactly the same. And also the sound system is a little bit different, So when you do a live show, do you try to say, okay, the next song is and you try to get to the or you're just jamming? That's my question.
A little bit in between, I guess, because I do have some patterns, musical patterns that are recognizable from my tracks that are stored inside my sequencer. So this really advanced sequencer I was talking about, so I can actually recall some of the musical patterns from earlier tracks and performances that I did, but because everything is patched a little bit differently and the knobs are all set a little bit differently, it's always going to sound different. And I also, the fact that I have the pattern stored doesn't mean that the song is going to sound the same, because they're just loose patterns. I actually have to tie the patterns together to make a performance. So I could perform those patterns and make a 5-minute song out of it live, or I could jam with it for 20 minutes. So it's never the same, really. It's both jamming and a little bit of playing back earlier saved things. But only the patterns, only the voltage is saved. It's not like any recorded.
Exactly. That's the funny part, for the people out there. This is what I meant. Maybe I described it really bad, but there is just this impulse. But the impulse, whatever it hits, it will sound the way it will sound in this moment, in this configuration. And if you configure it differently, it will sound differently. And if you hit something else, even the same impulse will sound differently. So it's really kind of magic, but it's really cool magic. So. You said you started 8 years ago with this whole journey for the more analog things, or your music making in this kind of regard. So
yes,
you had already some live shows. So how do you usually approach a live show? You already said that it's kind of in the middle. It's kind of a little bit of jamming and a kind of little bit of that. I'm not really sure. Do people dance, or do they just stand and admire what you're doing, or what's your audience like?
Also a bit in between, I think. I do like people to dance, and they do. At least they did before COVID hit, because since COVID, I've just done like mostly live streamed shows where there were no or very few people around to even dance. But yeah, people both dance and also they're fascinated by this machine, so they also stare and ask me afterwards, like, how does it work and everything. So it's cool. It's the best of both ways. The best of both worlds.
I can imagine that's with your, even it's very impressive. Just the one case you have there, and even if you have two cases, then it's even more. But it's crazy. So your music, you already said it's kind of industrial, and in a way you're absolutely right. But I'm kind of in my head is still stuck industrial. For me, I always think of industrial metal. So there needs to be also a guitar in it, and for me, it's the perfect marriage between electronic sounds, harsh electronic sounds, and stomping rhythms and stuff, and then and guitars with it and stuff. So, but you're with a more not so my own definition. You're right. You're more industrial, but still, I would put you more into electronic music. For me, this is kind of more electronica, because it's not that harsh. I mean, and I don't mean it to to say something bad about you. I like your music. Don't get me wrong, but it's if you would. For me, more industrial would be if you had like a sequencer who makes really harsh, white noise, whatever, gritty signals, and your music is more smooth, more danceable, more easier to digest. Let's put it this way.
Mhm.
It's not the harsh industrial. Yeah, what
You
yeah
mean like the
what
stuff on the Hands label, that sort of really like noisy
yeah,
stuff?
more this noisy thing where you really hear, okay, now we make some pink noise in it, and it's really, um, yours is more structured, more, uh, you know, because I really hate the label experimental, but sometimes this stuff gets really experimental, especially, and I get it, it's a lot of fun to experiment around with your machines, but you keep it more condensed. Yours is more, the song structure is more there because maybe that's a question for you. How do you achieve that? Because I personally, if I would stand in front of this machine, I would play around it for hours and would have a lot of fun, but would have not a concise, let's say, 5-minute song, because it would be like, I would just play around with things and it would be, oh yeah, this is, I would kind of enjoy myself. So maybe that's the question now for you. How do you decide what of your, I presume, jams you're doing, you cutting down to a 3-minute or 5-minute song and give it a name? Because, and I don't mean it disrespectful, your music
Mhm.
is mostly jams. It's kind of, you're starting to jam and see where things go. Or, if I'm wrong, please correct me. Or do you go into really making music like, okay, this is the bass drum and this is now the bass, and now comes, that you stuck things on it, and then you say, okay, this is the song. So how do you create, yeah, I mean, just talk.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
guessing here, and I'm having you to answer. So it's really stupid.
yeah. I think the last thing you said is the most accurate. I do layer things like with instrument upon instrument to see like, okay, how can I make a kick for this track, and I create a pattern and see what works, and I create a bass sound and see what works, and then I sort of layer it up, and then I get a basic sound palette, so
Mm-hmm.
to say. So I basically achieve the ingredients of a track, but then I start to really work that sequencer to create the different sections of the track, and to make it really a song that transitions from one section into the next.
Mm-hmm.
And for this, I have a few tricks. One of them is this really advanced sequencer I use, and the other is this touch-sensitive buttons
Mm-hmm.
that I use on a module that you may have seen me
I
use
saw it
on one
in
of
the
the
video.
recordings.
I was wondering what is because it didn't look like, sometimes you have a keyboard who has, certain ways of but it was, yeah, okay, please explain, sorry, but I saw it,
It's
yeah.
basically what you can do with I have 4 different places I can touch, and with each place I touch, 3 voltages can change at once.
Okay.
And that's the big trick, because the most difficult thing with modular and making structured songs is making things change at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
because you only have 2 hands, so you can open a filter, you can maybe program a sequencer differently with the other hand, but that's all going to sound like one big jam with only little things changing. But the
Mm-hmm.
trick into making songs is to make some stuff change all at once. So the melody changes, the arrangement changes, get like a breakdown where all the drums go silent, for example. And this I achieve with that module, because I'm able to change 3 things at the same time with one press of the finger. And then I have one other hand left to mute or enable other things in my orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I can make the sudden changes necessary to create like really different scenes within a track and to make it sound like a song.
Okay. So do you have some of segments of your instrument a couple of times? Because when you do this with a change, then it means it changed to a different segment of a instrument, and if you want to keep the inner instrument, you need to have it twice or even three times where that you get my point. You
Not really.
the sequence. Okay, you're having a sequence and you're playing it, and then you hit this button and you switch to another segment of your instrument, right? This is what happens. Or do you just no, you
No, I
change the
changed the
sequence.
parameters of the same sequence.
Sorry, I got it wrong.
Yeah.
I was like, you're sending it somewhere else. No, you sent something else to the same
Yeah.
okay, sorry, I was
Other
wrong. I was
voltages
mistaken.
that change the
got it.
sound of that
Okay,
voice
okay,
within the
okay.
instrument.
Mhm.
Although what you said first is also possible. It's also possible to switch. And I also have a module for that is made by Dupfer. You mentioned the guy already. And it's got 8 different switches that can also be mastered and slaved to each other. So with one press of a button or one control voltage, you can actually switch 8 signals
You reverse
from different directions, and that also creates those same
yeah, I don't have my
transitions.
I had a little what is it? A black light or something? A little sequencer where you could also do all this. You could switch around. You could switch the direction and stuff. It's a really nice toy. Somebody asked me, why do you need that? You can just use your computer and make a MIDI pattern. But it's so much more fun if you have some haptic things to turn knobs to. And
exactly, man.
This is so much fun. And yeah,
so much more fun.
Now talking to you, I realize I should get it. I have it in the rehearsal space, and I need to play around with it because it's just fun to let it run. It's a 32 step sequencer, and it's cool. It's just fun. Okay, so now we established how you do music, but. So you practice then a lot, and then you have like, oh yeah, this sounds good, and this shift is cool, and this these patterns go well to each other. So kind of this in a normal world, it would be like A B, and then a C, or a bridge to something else, and then you kind of put this together and record it on some software, I guess, on your DAW. And then you call it, okay, this is song, something like that.
Yeah, but really the song After Brewster that you played on your show is really kind of the first.
I put it in my playlist again because I just in preparation of a song of a talk, I listened to it, and it's so cool, and also the sound is so heavy. I like the bam. It's really I like the bass drum. Sorry, I interrupted you, but it's a really cool song. I recommend everyone listen to it.
Thank you, but that's really one of the first songs that I recorded this way into my DAW, and a lot of the other stuff I didn't really get to record properly yet. So I sort of missed giving an answer to one of the questions you asked earlier: is how do I prepare for a set, for a live set? And really, what I start to do is try to compose a new piece for that set. So I would start jamming and exploring sounds and starting to layer something together. And this takes me, sometimes weeks in the evenings of my free time to come up with something that I think is going somewhere. And when I'm ready, I start to program all the patterns that really make a song out of it. And then when I have my live show, I can jam with these patterns and create not a song, but create a 15 or 20 minute section. And then what I also try to do is recall some of my earlier patterns that I used before and put them into the set as well. So people are going to hear some of the things they've never heard before,
Hmm.
and some things that they might remember from last time or from a single or
You
something like
got you
that.
got your marketing down here. Give him
Well,
something
it's not.
familiar, and
Yeah, I know that's the marketing thing, but that's really not my intention there. It's
hmm
also my own convenience, and
hmm
it's basically born out of a practical desire to keep things manageable for me.
hmm
Because if I don't do that, then now it means I have to compose um, like an hour's worth of music for every live set I do, and that's
no,
just
no,
not
no. This
possible.
was just a joke. Um,
Okay.
and also, in a way, uh, you would be more than a DJ then, who kind of does things on the spot, and you are kind of a mix of it. Yeah, you're more a normal performing artist with some DJing, maybe like 20%. What I mean is kind of doing things on the spot then. And I
Yeah.
guess, once you see that what works well, you kind of, oh, next time I'm going to do this better, and incorporate this. So you're, it's actually good for the people who hear you, that they know they never get the same show twice, because remember what I told you in the beginning. Um, some artists out there, I'm gonna not name names, they just have a backing track and they just do dick. And and in worst case scenario, you hear the same thing, the same cadence, the same um, nah, um, set list again and again. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's okay, and I don't want to put them down. It's still a show, but it's a different way of show. So it's kind of almost a half playback at least, and this is not what you're doing. I wanted to you said, you're jamming, and until you see that you're going somewhere. Um, for now, I only hear about you. And what I'm going to ask you is, do you have somebody else you kind of show your music to before you put it live out, or you really kind of like trusting yourself well enough that it's okay, I like it, so other people will like it too? Or do you have some friends or people you confide in that you just listen to it? Do you think you like it, or is it good for this show? Or how do you know when a song is done or good enough to release or to play live?
Well, to play live, I don't think I ever let it played it to other people before I actually performed. So I
Oh,
just
okay.
relied on my own judgment. And yeah, you never know if the judgment is correct, of
Mm-hmm.
course,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm just gonna go with it. But for releasing the single, yes, I did play it to a friend and a fellow musician before I released it, to get
Mm-hmm.
some of his input, to get some of his tips for
Mm-hmm.
making it even better. And when I did that for After Booster, I actually realized that for the next song, I should play it to him a bit earlier in the process, because I already had the mix all done,
Mm-hmm.
and he had
Mm-hmm.
some really good comments about the mix itself that I couldn't change anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So next time, I want to involve him a little bit earlier to get his
Yeah,
input there. And I
this is
really
this
trust
is
his judgment.
yep. This is a typical problem I hear often, with solo musicians, because you're in your own bubble, and that's absolutely fine. And if you trust yourself, that's perfect. And I don't want to say you shouldn't, but also sometimes you get a little bit blind. You kind of you cannot hear this track with open ears anymore, because you're working on it for, I don't know, for 2 months or something. And then it's good to have somebody from the outside, just because you miss the stupidest little things sometimes, which you don't think about anymore, because for you it was always this way, and you're kind of you're not objective anymore. That's the problem. I see very often, and I guess that's the trap you fell into as well. But it's the good thing is, what I can say, you can always, you learned this now, and next time you will be better, and you will involve your friend earlier, and stuff. And this is absolutely normal, and this is for me the cool thing on music. There is no right or wrong. There is just, you will in 3 years you will listen to After Booster, and then it's kind of like, oh man, yeah, I can hear this problem and this problem, and look where I'm now. But this is still a stepping stone. This is still somewhere what got you there, and now we are
Absolutely.
talking. Who knows what will happen? I'm a very small one, but I'm gonna play you in my radio show. I put you in my playlist, and I'm gonna promote you in my way, and you never know. And this would have not happened if you would have not put it out, And if your
Exactly.
next
Yeah.
stuff is better, even better, I mean, great. So maybe this is a good question now. What is kind of, do you have any end goal here? Do you want a label contract, or do you want to go on tour with your? Do you have a name for your instrument, for your machine?
Modular synthesizer. Or did you mean that I give it a name like Catherine
No,
or
this is
something like
perfect.
that?
This is exactly what it is. Yeah. No. Yeah. Like, do you have a name? The behemoth, the Moloch, the I don't know.
Oh, something like that. No,
Something.
no, just the modular.
It's perfect. It's good.
I don't go out to dinner with it yet. It's
You're
not
not
like
married to it. You're not married to
no.
it, even if you spend a lot of time with it. And I guess
Sure.
sometimes you dream of it. Sorry. Sorry. Yeah, no, but what's the question? The question still stands. So what's your goals here? Where you want to go with your music? You want to play in some festivals, or what's your personal goals here?
That's a good question. I think I'm not the youngest guy anymore, and I've also already been active in the music scene for a while. So the wild dreams that I had early of the going on tour and making it big are sort of subsided a little bit. So I'm a bit more realistic, and I'm taking it one step at a time. But I think with Acheface, I really enjoy playing live. That's obviously one of the biggest things that it's all about for when you're improvising like this. So yeah, I would love to play to bigger crowds with this, and also play more on some of the bigger, either the bigger electronic music festivals, or also on some of the bigger festivals or events that have to do with modular synthesis. Because there's also like a big festival in Berlin called Super Booth, which is like a trade show for synthesizers, but it also has like a big exhibition and a big concert program at night. And it would be a great honor to play there, for example. So that would be
sponsor
a
you.
goal. Yeah, I
Dupfer
mean,
can
the
kind of
guy
invite you.
who makes Dupfer, Dieter Dupfer, will be there. He's there. You can speak to him there, and he will be in the audience. So, that would be a big honor.
Would be great. Yeah, he's. I mean, I don't know him, but I know, of course, of him, and I really like kind of I like his attitude, whatever he thinks of what he can do, he does, I had a few instruments or a few things he built, like there is this thing where you can do, this is just a long line, and you can just, you can put your finger on and make sounds go up and down and stuff. He has some really crazy stuff, and I love it. It's just kind of, and it's all handmade, and it's small. He's not in it for the money. He's in it for the fun, and this is really what I like. He's a very he's just creative in his own way, and that's really cool. Anyway, let's stay with you. I have one stupid question, and I'm not
Only
sure.
one?
Yeah. Okay. You can judge, or the audience can judge. And this is your name. What inspired you to use this name? Because it's very unusual.
You think so?
I think so, because for me, it's kind of, I I don't know. This is in a way it fits into the industrial kind of thing, but then it's more like this. The name for me inspires more like this dark industrial where you have distorted vocals and and all this
Hmm.
stuff. Then Acheface would kind of okay, this is Acheface, all this stuff. But with you, I get it. It's a name, and you can fill the name with the meaning, and you will, and that's fine. But it's kind of not the first thing I got in mind. So that's why I still have a little bit. I'm a little bit foreign with this name. I don't, it doesn't jive with me with the music you do.
Okay, that's interesting to hear actually. And the answer is kind of twofold. At one for one thing, it's just a name that I thought sounded cool.
Mm-hmm.
Acheface, it just sounded nice to me. It's just something that occurred to me like years ago out of the blue.
Mm-hmm.
And I just keep a list of band names on my computer. I have a list
Mm-hmm.
of like 25 band names or so. I just collect them, and
Mm-hmm.
when I start a new project, I pick a name from that list that I think sounds the most appropriate. So that's one part of the answer. And the other part of it is that I actually set out to make music that was a bit harder and noisier than the
Okay.
music that I make now.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that it's sounding like it's sounding now is partly because the instrument has sort of forced me in that direction,
Okay.
because it's because it's so complex, and the way you work determines the outcome very much. It also has kind of almost like a will of its own. So I mean, I go into this process with a certain desire, a certain
Mm-hmm.
sense of direction. Like I want to make like something really harsh
Mm-hmm.
today, and then I get to work, and then what comes out is something that might be less harsh
Mm-hmm.
or more melodic, because I just run across that stuff when I work. And
Mm-hmm.
no doubt that, I mean, it's clear that that melody is also inside me as a musician, and it's coming out as
Mm-hmm.
well because of who I am. But it's also because I don't fully control the instrument. It also produces unexpected results, and also an unexpected style sometimes that I didn't fully choose when I started
No, I
working.
completely understand you, and honestly, to I mean, this is the best music you can make, because what I mean is you let the song, and in this instance also the machine, you let the instrument determine where it wants to go. You have a spark, you have an idea, but you don't force it. No, I want it now, really harsh, and you always can do that. I mean, but you would not be happy, because this is not where the song itself ventures to, where it wants to go. And uh,
Yeah,
for me, this is, I guess in this instance, I can say that this shows that you are a more, how you say, you're a little bit older, and you just let it happen. You don't force it the other way. And I talk with other musicians, and sometimes you hear that, oh, this is not true death metal, and this is not true that, and this is, who the fuck cares what it's true? Just make the one what is inside of you, like you just said. The melody is still you. You didn't. You went into the process and wanted to do. Oh yeah, now let's do this dancing stomper. I want to do this, and then it becomes a. And if you let it happen, it's so much greater than yourself, because then there comes this. I always think of music. There's also some meta things, the things between the notes, something that you don't hear. There is this
yeah,
space, and if you let this happen, then you open up this possibility for this space, because you don't force things like, okay, I want this beat, I want that, and I'm pretty sure, you're an accomplished musician. You can, if I tell you, make me this beat, you make me this beat. I want a harsh beat, you make me one. But if you want to be inspired, and that's the difference, then
Yeah, exactly.
you let it happen. And you get in with one idea and you come out with a completely different one, what still resembles a little bit the idea, but it's so much bigger because you let the music, and I don't know if you can say this in English, the muse happen. The muse is kissing you, like we say
Yeah,
in
I
German.
think you can say that in English.
And this is where this is for me the best music, because it's inspired music. It's as you know, I'm a radio DJ, so I'm listening to a lot of music, and I slowly, I'm getting, no, not slowly, I'm quickly kind of determine, okay, if it's really inspired or not. And I have to admit, your music, because the first thing I'm going to see when I see new music is the name. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's give it a try. And then the name of a song, and then the artwork. Oh, we can talk about the artwork as well. And I was like, honestly, I was not expecting much. I was like, okay, this will be noisy. This will be, experimental and really, after booster, let's give it some speed. And I was very, very pleasantly surprised by what I heard. And so this kind of just underlines what you just said, because you did the music happen. You didn't force it in something what it isn't. Anyway, so we are approaching the 1 hour mark, so I don't want to keep you for too long, and it's getting very hot in my studio as well. But who's doing your artwork?
I do.
You do. Okay, good.
Yeah, in fact, or I should say, not only me, but also the modular synthesizer is helping me there.
Really?
Because modular. There's also modular video synthesis.
Mm-hmm.
I got into this about a year and a half ago, but there actually exist modules that produce analog video signals, and they can also be driven with modules that make music. So actually the top part you see here of this instrument behind me is consisting of video modules. And with those video modules, I can create artwork using analog voltage. So that's how I created the artwork of After Booster.
I see. I just, for the audience on the YouTube stream, we can see it. I just pulled up your Spotify account. You have a very nice logo writing, Acheface. I really like that. This looks really cool.
Thanks.
And then, the After Booster. Yeah, now that you explain it, I can. This is like one of these kind of what you can put in videos, when you to the beat, when it's like boom, 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 kind of. This okay. Now I get it. So that's actually, you save a lot of money, and it's kind of from the song, right? So it's in a way cool. Yeah, you're showing your musician.
Yeah, well, I mean, in this case, this particular artwork it's not moving, right? So it's not moving with the beat of the song, but it's created using analog voltage on the instrument all the same. So you don't have to make it move. You can actually make a still picture just by how you dial the modules and how you patch it up, basically the same as though you're making a sound. You can make an image.
Why don't you use this for your live show as well? Because this would be, if you have the modules and you put in a big screen, and and then things happen, or even background, this would look really cool.
Yeah, I've already did that once.
Oh,
in a live show.
I didn't see that. Okay.
But it's since I only started doing modular video synthesis for a year and a half ago, it took me a while to get it all figured out, to do audio with video at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
because like I said, I only have two hands. So if I'm performing the audio, then I have to make the video behave completely automatic.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do that because you have cables with control voltage that do things automatically, that create movements automatically. You can make the movements go in sync with the music or respond to sounds within the music. So that's something I succeeded in doing on one show. I
Mm-hmm.
was actually getting ready to also do it on another show, but now that show had to be postponed because a
Mm.
crew member had COVID.
Oh,
So
shit. Mm.
I don't know when it will happen now. But yeah, I'm already on that path of creating
Cool.
modular synthesizer video together with my modular synthesizer music live.
Cool. 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 Yeah. I mean, but there's not a video out there, or did I miss it? Because I think I haven't seen it. I saw.
No, it's not on my channel, but
Okay.
if you search on the Overkill Festival,
Mm-hmm.
there should be a long live stream that they did in, maybe it was summer of last year, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, maybe it was December last year. Yeah, I think it was last December. The Overkill, they did like a 2 hour something live stream with different artists, and I was one of them. And over there, I was doing modular video at the same time, and they were filming it as well. So
Okay. I'm gonna check it
there you
out.
can check it out if you're curious.
Yeah, I'm curious, but
And it's
also
a really great show to watch anyway, because the other artists are also great.
okay.
They're the
My,
more underground artists from my area
mm-hmm.
and beyond, actually. So it's a really great art festival that's happening every year in my hometown.
Mm. So this also means you could make some videos. I mean, just specific YouTube videos, like for After Booster with this thing, with this software. No, it's not software. It's with this hardware kind of,
Yeah,
and
it's
just record
hardware.
it. Okay.
True. Yeah, and that's
Mm.
something I'm planning to do now as my next move,
Mm-hmm.
because I have this performance ready for this concert that didn't happen together with the video. So now I'm transforming that performance into a song of like 4 to 6 minutes, something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and also record that like I did with After Booster, and also record the video along with it, coming from the modular video synthesizer,
Cool.
and create a YouTube visual together with the song in that way.
Exactly.
So
Because
you're already thinking
yeah.
the way I was thinking.
No, perfect. Because you need, like I said to you in the beginning, I couldn't find much about you. This is, and I sometimes it's a really cool thing because it makes it more ominous and something, But sometimes it's a little bit tough to connect with people if they're hard to reach, or if if there's nothing out there. We cannot, like I told you, if you wouldn't have put it out After Booster, I would have not found you, because we would have not started talking, and yeah, I wouldn't know who you are. Okay, so I have for the last question, I have a more like a fun question, and the good thing is you were lucky enough to already have some live things, live shows. So what was the funniest thing what happened to you going to a live show, to happen during a live show, to happen in the backstage area of a live show, or on stage, off stage? Because I mean, I can imagine with your machine, with your modular synthesizer, let's be correct. There can be a lot of things going wrong. So yeah, do you have any funny mishaps what you can share with the audience?
Well, surprisingly, actually, very little has gone wrong,
Okay.
because actually that's all. If when you hear interviews with other modular synthesizer artists, they often say like, "Oh, everything can go wrong catastrophically because it's so hard to keep control of this device." But I think I'm pretty disciplined in making sure everything is documented well, because you have to realize that in order to transport my instrument to a show, My instrument consists of 2 or 3 separate suitcases that are opened up and then connected together.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to transport the suitcases separately and closed. So all the wire connections that are made in between the suitcases, I
Oh,
have to restore before I
du
play live.
Schande. You have,
So I
oh.
take at least 15 minutes before each show connecting up the different connections according to a list that I keep with me, where I
Mm-hmm.
wrote all the 50 connections on
Oh.
that I have to restore. So
Oh
one
man, oh
other
man, oh
example
man.
of why this isn't the
Mm.
easiest solution.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, to something that did go wrong a few shows ago was that I thought that a module was broken inside my system,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the module that kind of gave me distortion. So I ended up playing a set with like much less distortion than I wanted to because I thought this module was broken. It was like, oh, I'm thinking,
Mm.
like, how can I repair this, and what exactly is broken, and can I get this right? And then at the end of the show, I realized that one cable wasn't completely in the socket,
Ah.
and it wasn't making a connection. So all I had to do was just
To
push
really
the
push
cable
it in.
down a bit further.
Mm. I see. Yeah, yeah. You
So
know,
the whole show would have sounded differently.
mm-hmm. Yeah, but anyway, next time people can hear the same show but much different. Um,
Exactly. So it's always going to be different due to
mm,
some stupid thing like that.
mm. And also, yeah, I could imagine, you have to check your cables also that they are really, that they don't break. And it's, I mean,
Yeah.
I admire what you're doing, but on the same, I'm not the person to do it. It's kind of like it needs a special person to really do what you're doing because, yeah, you need to be patient and you need to be thorough. You need to be very focused. Um, and
Yes.
yeah, and creative at the same time, and it's a kind of um, yeah. What? And this is a question you can not answer if you don't want to, but I just want to. What do you do in real life? I mean, what's your day job? You would be like a programmer or a developer or something. This would kind of suit you, I guess. Very thorough, very focused, very so if you want to share that, if you don't want to share it, it's fine. You don't have to answer.
No, that's fine. I'll happily share it. I guess a programmer could fit my profile, but I'm a lot of different things, really. I have a very eclectic background, but I have a job for part of my week where I work in communication and marketing in a high-tech firm.
Mm-hmm.
So I write the stuff on their website, and I write social media, and I program things on their website as well. So I'm like a
Mm-hmm.
jack of all trades, and I'm also a freelance photographer and filmmaker.
I see.
So, and those
Mm-hmm.
skills I also apply to my marketing and communications job. So I
Mm-hmm.
also take their videos and their photos, but I also do this as my own business. So people hire me to take pictures of mostly business subjects. So
Mm-hmm.
people portraits for business, or
Mm-hmm.
high tech products, or high tech company videos, that sort of stuff.
Okay, it's actually a little bit. I mean, pleasantly surprising, but surprising in the way that um, you are hard to find, and as an artist, but maybe as a professional photographer, or what you do, you're easier to find. I don't know
I
that,
hope
but
so.
yeah, I mean, you seem to do fine, so it seems like
Yeah.
you have enough to do. But yeah, it was kind of like I don't know. I still have your Spotify open. It's you have 36 monthly listeners at the moment, and it's kind of always it makes me sad, and 3 followers, and that yeah, sometimes but this is my personal thing. Some really not so good musicians, let's put it nicely, have a lot of followers and plays and stuff, and some more interesting musicians where I would count you, it's kind of like nobody knows them. So, I mean, we're going to change that, but I'm just a little bit surprised that you are in marketing and, you can
And I'm
market,
so bad at marketing my own music.
you can
Yeah.
market yourself a little bit, but it's fine. On the other hand, I'm absolutely with you. I hate it if people, put down things you've wrote and if you write to every, I get, the bigger I become, the more things I get just randomly sent to me. And you can clearly see if somebody really checked out what I'm about and what I like, or if it's just like, I'm on one of these 100,000 lists where you just send it to them and, see what sticks. And I hate to be just a number. And yeah, I mean, if you contact me and I can really see, oh, you meant it, and then I'm gonna check it out. But if you just randomly throw stuff at me, I'm not interested. So yeah, I'm saying to you, it's fine. We will get you there. We will get you to a bigger audience. But it's better this way, to slowly go there than to just kind of scream and yeah, look at me, look at me, look at me. When you're famous for
Exactly.
5 seconds and gone in 10 years, or
Yeah.
forever, basically.
Especially in the music scene that I operate in, it doesn't fit to be so screamy and overly into marketing and stuff. It sort of relies on well kept secrets and word of mouth and that sort of thing, and it makes it more magical and charming sometimes to see how your connections develop in that way. And I'm not in any kind of a hurry, right? Because I only have one proper single out and some other collaborations that are also on Spotify. But yeah, things will take their natural course, and I realize there's just a whole ton of new music being released every day, and it's very hard to get ignored. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's just the way things work nowadays. I think I just try to rely on my own strengths, and I'm very grateful for people like you who do notice me and give me a little
No,
bit of a platform and help me promote my stuff.
and you really have something special that most of the other artists, let's say 80% of the other artists don't have. You can really perform your stuff live, because most stuff people can do, people can make music today on their iPhone and just, send it out and through their distributors and blah, 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 and, and you can spam everything. I think, I'm not really sure if the number is correct, but like 50,000 new songs every day on Spotify. So it's really an
Wow.
avalanche of, I'm not sure if it's, but it's a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And yeah, so I see myself also like somebody. I started a video series on my YouTube channel where I just do recommendations because I realize people don't really know in all this avalanche of mudslide of music what they should listen to. I mean, I have only my opinion, of course, and I don't say I'm right, but as I have my radio show and my playlist and everything is growing, so I assume that there are other people who have the same taste as me. So, anyway, my point is, I'm happy that I found you, and I'm happy that you're not a screamy little kid, like, look at me, look at me, look at me, because this goes nowhere in my, you get like 5 minutes of fame and then you're done, because when there's 10,000 other 5 little screaming little boys and girls and whatever, and it's kind of so boring. But okay, we should end on a good note. But the good thing is, I really believe that there's a time for everything, and the pendulum swung in one direction, and it really was too much, and just being famous for the wrong reasons, and like doing a stupid TikTok dance or whatever, and now people realize, okay, there's not much behind it, so maybe we look for real artists who can really do something and really can present it, and with you, that's why I'm excited to hear that you're doing your video performance, because this is really that I'm a fan, so but it could be boring to look at you just like twiddling knobs and doing this and hitting something and doing. There's cooler if there's some real representation, some other things with it. Even if it's cool to look at, I would enjoy looking at you, but I can understand other people who are like, okay, he's just, what is that? This is not really a
Yeah, they don't always understand, right, what it is you're doing.
Because because we're used to other DJs who kind of do click and can dance around and do a lot of things that you cannot.
Or they mime it, they pretend to be touching knobs and they don't even touch them.
Sometimes they're not even plugged in, And I remember there was one video where we kind of like the guy was really like, doing it, and scratching and yeah, and then we kind of zoomed in and it wasn't even plugged in. It was just the sound was coming from somewhere else and he was just miming it. And it's fine, it's entertainment, it's cool, whatever floats your boat. I don't want to, but anyway, you have some more depth in it, and that's the cool stuff, and I like. I actually was surprised to hear with. Remember, we talked about After Booster and that you wished you would have sent it to your friend earlier or involved your friend earlier, because I think it's a really cool mix. It's really heavy. It hits hard, and so I'm actually looking forward what will come out now that your friend is more involved earlier. How much better, hopefully, the next tracks will be. And please send it. Give me a hint whenever you release something, and I can play it in my radio show and I can put it in my playlist, and yeah. And I can promote your videos as well a little bit. I have a video playlist, but this goes almost nowhere. But I have it, so I can put you in there as well.
Maybe it will take off now that you've got my video.
Now when I have Acheface on my show, it will explode. Who knows? No, but thank you very much. It was really fun to get to know you. Yeah, you certainly, like I just said, you went for the hardest, not the hardest, but kind of the hardest parts of doing music. But this is actually quite cool because, I really believe in that people will see you. At the moment, you are niche because there's so much other things and you can emulate everything. And, like you're also, into extreme metal. I remember the times when you needed to have the cabinet and the amp and to really have the sound you wanted. And today you can kind of you just dial it in and you just you have this little amp and it gives you the sound you want. And it's cool, but it's also missing something. It misses the how do you call these things that's in the amps and stuff? Anyway, the technical things and
the valves.
The valves, yeah,
the tubes.
The tubes, exactly. That's it. The tubes, but kind of like I'm actually happy that vinyl is coming back because vinyl has something that MP3 doesn't have. I mean, I'm listening mostly to MP3s because it's easy and and whatever. But if you really remember the time where you had a vinyl on and you just put down the needle and you hear the crackle. There's some magic to it, and I'm happy
like
that
it's tactile, right? Like you said, it's the same why I use a modular synthesizer instead of a laptop. It's tactile. It's real.
Yeah, and you can see what you're doing, and not you're just moving your mouse. And anyway, I'm absolutely with you, and I'm hopefully. We'll see more of you soon, like the videos you kind of teased on to. Please let me know. And if you ever come around to Germany, we have some little things here too, some festivals. Please let me know.
I would love to play in Germany.
And also, honestly, let me know because I can also put it in my radio show. I have a live radio show every week, so I can kind of promote it as well. So I'm happy to do that.
The concerts, you mean?
Yeah, concerts, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know.
You, I will not promote, just the concerts. No, of course, yeah. No, thank you very much. It was really nice to get to know you.
too.
I wish you all the best. I'm really excited. I'm actually quite happy that people like you still exist because as much. Okay, let's stay on the happy note. Yeah, I'm very happy that people like you exist, and that's it. So please keep on doing what you're doing. Involve your friend as soon as possible, so that the songs will be even better. And please hit me up if something new comes out.
Yeah, let's keep in touch.
Okay. So good
Okay.
night. Have a good evening.